यो तिम्रो माटो यो मेरो माटो सबले हिँड्ने हो एउटै बाटो
When you registered, you should have received a folder, and that folder contains, if you don't, then I'll see if I can get it from outside, but there is an agenda in the folder that gives you an outline of how the evening is going to look like. We are running a little bit behind schedule, so without further ado, I'm going to invite Nisha Thapa, the president for Sahayeta, to introduce the work that we do.
Namaste. Thank you so much for being here. I know you guys had to drive around to find parking and then being stuck in Bay Bridge and San Mateo Bridge and giving up your Saturday evening. So you must be really dedicated to make connections here tonight. So thank you so much for coming. This event would not have happened without collaborations with AMA Foundation, CAN USA, Community Health for Asian American, TANC, Tibetan Associations for Northern California, anybody I'm missing? No. And all the other supporters. I just want to name a few folks that have always supported us. Surya is our photographer, and he is always here since our first. And also, I know Kathy does not like us to talk about her amazing work, but we would not have started without Kathy. Kathy is our inspirational model. So I would invite everybody to maybe, if you get a chance tonight, to connect with Kathy. I mean, when I grow up, I want to become like Kathy. I mean, she's just so amazing. Anyway, there's so many people here, Javier, Genitai, so many other wonderful folks here who've always supported us. So I think you already know about the work that we do. We run a free clinic here for the uninsured Nepali, Tibetan, and the Bhutanese community. We just did a screening a month ago at His Holiness' birthday at the Tang Tibetan Community Center. We screened about 80 people, and I was there last week with Dechen, who's another unsung hero, just does all the amazing work. So we do, on a continual basis, looking at health not just from a pill perspective, but looking at health from a community-based perspective, integrating Tibetan medicine, and we're hoping to integrate Ayurveda as well. And the other thing that we just started is, I've always wanted to do something in Nepal, so we started a small project in Himalayan. So what we are providing is scholarship to 11 children who are orphanage untouchable. I mean, even now we have, people who are still untouchable living in Nepal. And then when the weather permits, we Skype with them once a week when we can. But in the last 4 months or so, there was flood, there was snow. Himalayan is one of the most remotest part of Nepal.
We are the AMA Foundation, and I'm on the board. And I'm really excited about this collaboration, this alliance. There's no sense to be reinventing the wheel. We all have a similar interest in that part of the world, and I'm really excited to be able to learn from what you know and network with who you know to eliminate some of that redundancy. I'll tell you a little bit. Oh, and this is Juicy. Julie. She's also a board member, and she's going to be presenting later, but she's standing here with me for support. So the AMA Foundation is a 501c3 in the state of California. We're a non-profit organization, and we solely provide funds to Amagar, which is our children's home in Gadari. She's translating. Outside of Kathmandu. And we are an accredited GuideStar organization, and that's one of the most respected nonprofit accreditation sites, so we're thrilled to registered with the government of Nepal, and we have our own board of Nepali directors, and we're overseeing everything we do by the Social Welfare Council of Nepal. We were started on a foundation, and Anil started by Shawan Nepali in 2001, and he is not here today. He is doing a Curry Without Worry event, so I'm sorry he's not here with us today. Our mission is to provide loving home and education to the most underprivileged children in Nepal. And in the past year, 12 years, we started with 19 children in a rented home. We're now up to 50 children from the ages of 4 to 19. And we were fortunate enough to have donated money to build our own eco-friendly home that we own.
I'm the president of the Tibetan Association in Northern California. We are based, we have our community center in Richmond, which we bought about 2 years back. Basically, I've been invited by Nisha to speak about what we are doing as an organization here in the Bay Area. And to that end, we were formed on July the 6th, 1990, July 6th being His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday. So we've been in existence here for over 23 years now. And the main kind of two primary objectives of forming the Tibetan organization are basically one is, of course, for the Tibetans is to restore our country back from the communist Chinese leadership, which illegally occupied our country in 1959. That's the key objective. And the second is to preserve our culture that's in the face of being wiped out from the face of the universe. So these are the two main things that our organization was formed on. And as far as the preservation of our culture is concerned, we have, basically, we are just almost about 2,000 Tibetans living in the Bay Area. A small community, yet I would say big enough for the people here in the Bay Area know the existence of our community organization. And we are vibrant, cohesive, all the community members, very friendly, all united. And so as far as the preservation of our culture is concerned, what we have, basically, let me just tell you the different kind of committees that we have under our organization. So TANG being the mother organization, we have 4 subcommittees. So one of the committees is the building committee that is responsible for raising funds for a community center which we bought about 2 years back. Then we have another committee called the health committee, of which Nisha has been very actively supporting our committee for the past 5 or 6 years now, along with some of our health professionals. And so they kind of look after the well-being of our community. And then we have the Sunday school community committee.
Most of us were resettled from the refugee camps in Nepal. I myself were some of the first Bhutanese to come here in the Bay Area. Well, actually, that would be my dad. But moving once we realized that the American government was going to take in resettled refugees in America, the Bhutanese community, the loosely based Bhutanese community in the Bay Area decided to form an organization, and so that we can act as a support system for the Bhutanese that were going to be resettled here in California. Since 2006, things have changed rapidly in our community. We have seen populations go up to like 800 to they are being dramatically, the population rate is going down mainly because people are, they are immigrating to some other states where there's more work available. So that's a big challenge for our Bhutanese community right now. But to talk more about the Bhutanese organization in general, the Bhutanese community in California, we basically, like I said, we act as a support system, and we have been working a lot with other non-profit organizations who help us as an organization stand on our own feet. For example, Sahayeta, CHA, they have been one of the many organizations who have really been there to support us at all the time. CHA with their programs, youth programs, gardening programs and projects, we have been able to take these ideas and interact with our communities to help especially the elderly population and also the youths in our population. And also, Sahayeta, I would like to say thanks a lot for all the free medical checkups that they do on a yearly basis, and also to Nishadi, because she has always been there as a support system for the Bhutanese community in Eastmont Wellness Center, where it's very hard to find a good translator or a good, basically a good healthcare service where they can understand your language. Other than that, currently we are still under a new leadership. Changes are going on right now. So I myself have been out of the country, so I don't know much going on. But other than that, I would just like to say that it's amazing to have so many organizations out here today, because it's better if we learn from each other on how we can support each other in our communities.
And each year we have a lot of different
something
meaningful themes, whether that be around youth development or health clinic. This year it's all about Himalayan networking event. So I thought what we could do to start off is, I think there's a lot of empty seats, so if I could make a humble request to have people in the back move a little bit forward, because I think we've got a lot of great speakers. I think it would be better if we had people sort of a little closer to this. It's a bit scattered right now. Thank you. Thank you. As Amisha said, I run a small marketing business here, but I also am an active volunteer for Sahayeta, and it's my privilege and honor to introduce our 5 speakers that we have for the evening. And my personal goal for this evening, or for attending this event, is to be informed about all the nonprofit work that these organizations have been doing for years, be inspired personally so that I can take those learnings and do something on my own. And then obviously, being that it's a networking event, I hope all of us can kind of connect and make some new connections, whether that be you want to start a nonprofit or giving back to our community here in the Bay Area or back home. So our first presenter is going to be Carol Vernal, and she's been doing some amazing children's health work in Nepal. She's the founder and CEO of Children's Medical Aid Foundation, an organization dedicated to improving the lives of impoverished kids and families by providing access to basic health care, mostly in the remote areas of Nepal. She had run a private home care business in Marin County and specializing in hospice care for over 10 years. She first visited Nepal in 1989 and absolutely fell in love with the place and the people. She started her NGO in 2004. So I'd like to call upon Carol to come up here and share with her her journey and her experiences of running an NGO in Nepal.
Thank you. I am so pleased to be here. And I have had quite a journey through, first becoming in love with Nepal and then deciding that I wanted to do something to, honestly, it was the fact that I was a traveler and a wanderlust for many years, enjoying that kind of life, and I decided I better pay back something. So Nepal was the first thing in my mind, and the place that I chose to be, being that you can do a lot with very little in Nepal. And I never have the kind of money you would think you need to really make a difference. I'm a nurse, and have used those talents as I do what you do best, what you know. So it had to be healthcare in Nepal. So I'm going to go through a PowerPoint with you and just take you on my journey. This is just a real personal story about how it happened with me. And it might inspire you, give you some ideas, and you're going to say, oh yeah, I know that. Those are, points that and other things you might learn from. So anyway.
Prior to Gunpower, Sandeep was the CEO of San Francisco-based Loyalty Matrix, an on-demand marketing analytics software company, which was later acquired by Responses. He holds a master's degree in computer science from University of Nebraska and has been published in several software industry journals. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sandeep.
So it's great to be here on this lovely Sunday, Saturday afternoon. I'm still jet lagged. I just came back like 2 or 3 days ago, something like that. Anyway, so bear with me as I go through story of Gunpower. So wonderful introduction, thanks. So this is what we do. We build solar microgrids like the one you see over here. This is the one that we have that's close to Mount Everest Base Camp in a place called Lobuche. It powers an environmental research station built by the Italians back in the late 70s, apparently. So now we're powering them up with 10 kilowatts of solar. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Nepal. I came to the United States for college, ended up staying here, did my stint as software engineer, as probably some of you have done, and then realized that it might be more fun to start my own business. So on that note, I think that was probably 15 some odd years ago. Started a few companies, some were good, some were not so good, but it was a wonderful experience, all of them. And then in 2009, I accidentally started Gunpower. And that accident is the story I want to share with you. In 2009, I was on my way to Nepal. So this is what the Himalayas look outside the plane from Thai Airlines landing into Kathmandu. I'm very happy, it's sunny, wonderful. And this is the story at night. Nepal was going through 16 hours of daily load shedding. Load shedding means scheduled power blackouts. So 16 hours of no power in a day. Imagine what that's like. Everything is completely chaos. I mean, everything comes to an abrupt halt. I saw my sister-in-law, she woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning to iron her clothes, because that was the only time she could run her clothing iron. Crazy things, like, my dad waking up at 3 in the morning, because that's the only time he could start his, the water pump. That's how he got water up on the rooftop tank. So, it was chaos, and especially businesses running diesel generators for power backup, things like that going on. So, I ended up doing what an entrepreneur would do, which is open up a shop to sell solar power as an alternative to diesel generators. That's what we wanted to do. Now, it's been a great, ride actually in 3 years. We've learned a lot of things. So let me just share with you what Gunpower has done. So we started, looking at this overall problem. What is this problem of not having electricity for 16 hours a day? It turns out in Nepal there's a 500 to 600 megawatt deficit.
One of the things that I thought was interesting is when I saw that microgrid, the solar grid solution. I took a trekking trip with a couple of friends about 2 months ago to Manaan, and we actually saw that solar-powered recharging stations for your cell phones. So you can actually, you would have to pay them to be able to charge those phones. So yeah, we saw that in real life. So. Our next speaker is going to be Julie Shrestha. She's going to be representing AMA Foundation. I think you guys have heard her and her colleagues speak about AMA Foundation. but I just want to read out a quick bio on who she is. Julie is a board member with the AMA Foundation. She has a master's in public administration and is currently working at a research organization focusing on California policy. She is going to share with us today some ideas and thoughts and tools on how you could raise money. Again, like Mr. Fury said, profit is not a good word. You do need money to run nonprofits. So, I think we all want to hear what those tools are, what the strategies are. So, Julie.
Thank you, Muhyadai. So I will be talking about online fundraising strategies for nonprofits and specifically those that we use at the AMA Foundation. And I'll also briefly touch upon other activities and strategies that work well with the online tools that are available. So fundraising is essentially about creating relationships and then building upon the relationships that you've created. And there are various marketing tools available, especially those on the internet, that help you achieve this goal. So there are basically 3 steps to developing and keeping relationships. The first one is acquiring a donor base. The second one is retaining your donor base and maintaining this relationship. And the third one is promoting the work that you do so that your donor base feel good about the relationship that they have with you and continue to support you and your mission. So beginning with the process of acquiring a database of donors, there are several ways that you can go about this, including contacts made through board members, friends, family, and volunteers at your events, participating in events and collecting contact information while you're at the event, having online fundraising campaigns, and getting individual as well as organization level sponsorships. I will briefly talk about 3 of these strategies in a little bit more detail. So recently we participated at the Himalayan Fair in Berkeley that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. And this is very low effort, just a plain sign-up sheet type of event for us where we collected email addresses and other contact information from people who came by to visit our area. And once we collected these contact information, we made sure to send them a welcoming email talking in detail about what we do as an organization and also letting them know what the benefits of being a AMA donor would be. And they will also receive email newsletters in the future as well as our annual
becoming happier and also living a more fulfilled lifestyle through volunteerism and spirituality. I actually read an article last week on USA Today where they were interviewing people that were in their assisted living center or quote unquote terminal conditions, and when they were asked, what's kind of reflect back on your life and can you share us a couple of thoughts? And a lot of those people said, I wish I was more happier and I wish I didn't work as hard. So I thought that was interesting just to kind of tie this up with our next speaker. Art of Living, I'm sure some of you guys are involved with it. If not, I think they came to our last Sahayeta event and ran a workshop. I just want to give you a quick intro. Art of Living is a nonprofit educational humanitarian organization that offers numerous highly effective educational as well as self-development programs and tools that facilitates the elimination of stress and fosters deep and profound inner peace, happiness, and well-being for all the individuals. With that, I'll pass the mic to Mike.
Thank you. good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you to Nishaji and Sahayeta for inviting us and having such a wonderful set of presenters. I'm honored to be here. I'd like to share a little bit about the work that we're doing in Art of Living, and also to talk about spirituality and volunteerism. So Art of Living is one of the world's largest NGOs. We are based in 150 countries throughout the world. And our mission is to create a stress-free and violence-free society everywhere. So really, and we do this by empowering the individual. So the essence of the work that we do is based on learning to connect within. So like I think some of the speakers mentioned, I think Sandeep talked about, what is our legacy? What is it that when we look at the sum total of our lives, what is it that we are leaving behind? And what is it that really drives us? Where does that motivation come from? I think Carol also spoke about compassion and passion. So I think this in the realm of volunteerism, this is very important, because once you find what it is that is driving you, and that you can then take that joy that you have within you and you can share it with everybody, then that's really the best way to volunteer. Then the service that you offer is coming from that space of love and friendship and compassion. And that is, that's really the most wonderful way to offer service. Because then you're not just offering service, you're really offering your friendship, yourself. And so we would like to, share with you how we do that in Art of Living. It's about connecting, like I said, within first, and then connecting around. And the key to that is what we have discovered, and this is known in ancient times, since ancient times, is the key to connecting within is to connect within by using our breath. Okay? The breath is the tool that connects our mind to ourselves. And it's really something very profound. Most of us are not very familiar. I mean, we breathe, of course, all the time. But the power of the breath. So this is something that is very unique.
Demo on
by paying attention to it, you can learn how
it's basically a technology that allows promoting education to remote Nepal, or reaching to remote areas of Nepal. So I'm going to leave it to David in terms of demoing and what it does, how he does it. While he sets that up, here's a short bio. David is a successful social entrepreneur. He's the founder of Village Tech Solutions. He and his wife, Heidi, lived in Nepal implementing a variety of improvement technologies for 14 years in Nepal. So they've spent a considerable amount of time there. VTS was founded, or Village Tech Solutions was founded when they arrived in Nepal in 1991. And they discovered that simple technology solutions could be applied to solve daily challenges faced by rural communities. For example, they created a wire bridge solution, which was basically a human-powered river crossing system, which facilitated over 3 million trips across deep river gorges in Nepal. As such, they provide a affordable and relevant range of technical solutions to address challenges for basic facilities such as education, electricity, transportation, and potable water.
Thank each of you who are such gracious and compassionate members of society and working on these various projects. I think it's wonderful. There are so many needs that people have, and it's fabulous to see the initiative and the thoughtfulness that you're showing. My wife, I'd like to introduce my wife, Haiti, is back here, and Haiti Pandey and I spent 14 years in Nepal from 91 until 2005. We moved back and I continued to travel there quite a bit for several years, and then most recently we were in Nepal in December. I'd also like to introduce Maria Kalka, who is over here. She is going to Nepal in 2 years, first time. I think Usha has assured us that she'll be able to get there. The three of us, I'd like to say good afternoon, namaste, and tashi. We have, while I was in Nepal, in the beginning I was supposed to do some agricultural development, and that kind of didn't go very well. So we found ourselves there wondering what we were going to do next. Haiti and I stayed during this entire time. I think about the third year or fourth year, we started a company called Ecosystems. I had worked at one time for the Dole company that brings you bananas. And I knew about how they transported bananas, and it was an interesting process. We took that technology, started to develop a kind of a monorail, or sort of every man's transport system for Nepal. And guess what? The people mistook it for being a bridge. It wasn't a bridge. So but we had these delegations of farmers coming out of the hills, asked us for help, wanted a bridge, and we said, well, we haven't any idea. And they said, oh, of course you can. It already looks something like a bridge. So we changed direction, and in 18 months, they said it was good enough, and we built our first bridge. Ended up that there were 38 of these built in Nepal, and we're now in the process of raising funds through Rotary to rehabilitate them and see if we can persuade the Nepal government, I think through the district offices, to assume the responsibility for the maintenance, because they're hugely helpful for the people. Even when we left, we at that time, in 2005, had moved about 3 million passengers, all without a single bit of harm coming to them. So it's very, very satisfying, and the kids, most of the passengers, of course, kids going to and from school, which otherwise they wouldn't have done. So then we moved on, we did other projects. I'm glad to see Pandey here doing his power stuff, because we hope to be talking with him. We did some pedal power attempts, and it turned out that that didn't quite fly in Nepal, but the result is that there's some new kinds of solar power products being made available there. Now, most recently, since we got back here, we no longer have a flood of volunteers coming to Nepal to do technical development. So we looked around and we found that a number of the universities here are eager to have their engineering students work on projects that have a social benefit. There's lots of people wanting to do that. Problem is they are not close to the need, they're not close to Nepal or other countries. So we helped them identify problems and gave them an opportunity. So here's one of them. We call this Luma. We described the problem by describing a lot of the Nepali schools, which, as many of you know, tend to be isolated, without electricity, and very often without much in the way of support materials. The teachers are really on their own to try to deal with huge numbers of kids and very large numbers in the classroom and very little support. I think you probably have seen some of this, right? Okay, so we said the advances in technology in the last, I'd say 7 or 8 years have been phenomenal. Bringing us projectors that no longer use incandescent bulbs. They now can use LEDs with much less electricity. The SD cards that most of us have in our cameras and in your computers are now enormous. There's even 64 gigabyte cards, and I suppose they'll probably go bigger. There are very small but very fast and nice and inexpensive computers, so we thought, can't we put all of these together? And as Sandeep and others are extending the mobile phone networks in Nepal, and throughout Africa, and throughout Central and South America, the opportunity to get to the internet becomes more. Not everybody has it.
Instead of doing a 1 hour long focus group, we'll do it 30 minutes. And the idea is we'll do the focus group, and then after that, each of those focus groups will make a short presentation to the audience while we have dinner across the hallway. Okay? And to lead the focus group, I'm going to pass it on to Sean. and he's going to go through the rules and how this is going to be run in the next 30 minutes or so.
Hello, everybody. So we can't have a networking event without networking, so we've designed a little group activities. I'm going to divide you into 4 groups. There will be a group in the front here, a group in the front here, a group in the back, and a group in the back. We'd like you to organize yourselves around 4 topics based on your interests: health, education, social entrepreneurship, and technology. I'm going to designate this corner to be health, and Nisha will be getting you all settled in. I'll designate this one to be education over here. We'll get some of you over there. If you're interested in social entrepreneurship, go to the upper corner there. And if you're interested in technology, go over here. What this activity is, it's called, it's basically building a newspaper front page. So your group will get together around your topic, and each of you will come up with 1 or 2 visions you have for the future for your Himalayan communities here and in your home countries. Then you will also bring a couple of ideas for stories and headlines and images you'd like to see on the front page. Imagine it's a news day 20 years in the future or something like that. Then you'll present your stories to your group, and you'll all, like an editorial board, come up with a decision of what's your main headline, what are your supporting small stories. So you're going to be designing like the cover of the New York Times or something like that. Then the group, after you pick your stories and your images, we're going to have you draw and represent. We have pens and we have some magazines. If you don't have time, you can just kind of draw everything if you like. You don't have to give content, but we want ideas that you can explain to everybody else later. We have some rules. There are 4 rules. The stories have to show a link between the U.S. and the story location. The stories should show collaboration between the people in your group. So if you have people from different organizations, figure out how you can, in your storytelling, link yourselves to each other in interesting ways. And this will also force you to get to know each other a little bit. And then have fun and be visionary. This is not about coming up with a plan. This is about coming up with a clear group vision for outcomes you'd like to see in the future for Himalayan communities. Has everybody got that? Okay, go to your group. So